Shri Radha Vinod Vihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrī Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta. Sorry, let me just start over. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupada Suttara Sutta Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Maha Bhagavat Shilagokshara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Shiva Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanātana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasa Guna Shrad Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Nama Jai Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभीष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज यमुना तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त जय। श्री यशोदा दामोदर की जय। श्री राधा दामोदर की जय। जय श्री दामोदर व्रत की जय। श्री उर्ज व्रत की जय। उर्जेश्वरी रसेश्वरी शिव शोभानंदिनी श्रीमती राधा ठाकुरानी की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। जय श्री दामोदराष्टक की जय। श्री सत्यव्रत मुनि की जय। श्री सनातन गोस्वामी दिग्दर्शिनी-ṭikā की जय। और श्री गुरुदेव दिग्दर्शिनी-वृत्ति की जय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वृन्दाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। अंगश्यामलिमच्छटाभिरपितो मन्दीकृतेन्दीवरं जाड्यं जगुडुरोचिषं विदधतं पट्टम्बरस्य श्रिया। बृन्दारण्यविलासिनां हृदि लसदामाभिरामोदरं राधास्कन्दनिवेशितोज्ज्वलभुजं ध्यायेम दामोदरम्। Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Shubhananda Prabhu, and Pramila Didi, and all other devotees watching. I don't know. If you write a comment, I'll see your name, but I'm guessing Indira Mataji and Vaiseshwari Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, and everybody else. Dandavat Pranams. So today we're continuing our reading of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam with the commentary of the Sanātana Gosvāmī Padma, the Dig-darśinī-ṭikā, and also the commentary of Śrīla Gurudev, the Dig-darśinī-vṛtti. So first we'll sing it, and then today we're going to be reading the third verse. Namami Shvaram Sachidananda-rūpam Lasatkundalam Gokule Brajamadam Yashodabhiyo Lukaladhavamanam Paramrishtamatyantatadrutagopyam Rudantamuhurnetrayugmamrejantam Karambhojayugmena satankanetram Muhusvasakampa Trirekhankakanta Stitagraivadamodara itīdṛk sva-līlābhir ānanda-kuṇḍe sva-ghoṣaṁ nimajjantam ākhyāpayantam tadīyeśita-jñeṣu bhaktair jitatvaṁ punaḥ prematas śatāvṛtti vande varam deva moksha na moksha-vadim va Nachanyam vrineham varesharapiha idang teva purnata kopalabala sada me manasya virasam himanyam idang te mukham bhojam avyaktanilai vrittam kuntalai snigdar raktaischa gopya Muhushrumbittam bimbarakta-dharane manasya virasam alam lakshalabhai Namadeva damo dharananta vishnu prasiddha prabhu dukha jalabdi magnam kripa drishti vrishtyati dinam batano Grihane shamam agyam edakshidrishyai kuberatmajo baddha murtaiva yadvat tvaya muchito bhakti bhajo krito cha tata prema bhaktin swakame prayacha namokshe graho misti damodareha Namaste Sudame Spuradipti Dhamne Tadīyadarāyatha Vishwasadhame Namo Radhikāyai Tvadiyapriyāyai Namo Nantalilai Devaya Tubhyam Namo Radhikāyai Tvadiyapriyāyai Namo Nantalilai Devaya Tubhyam Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara. On Haribo Krishna Maya Didi. Okay, so we're beginning now verse 3. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Let's try doing it in the actual meter I think it's called Bhujanga Prayatam. Na 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 na. So let's see. I've never actually sung all of Dāmodarāṣṭakam in the proper meter. Let's see if I can. itīdṛk sva-līlābhir ānanda-kuṇḍe sva-ghoṣaṁ nimajjantam ākhyāpayantam tadīyeśita-jñeṣu bhaktair jitatvaṁ punaḥ prematas śatāvṛtti. So, itīdṛk, like this, like these pastimes, his supremely enchanting childhood pastimes such as Dambandam Lila. So, like this, itīdṛk, sva-līlābhir, by his unique and uncommon pastimes. It just says by his lila. ānanda-kuṇḍe. So in fathomless, in pools of bliss. Kunda, we know the word kunda means, kund. So in kunds of Ananda, sva-ghoṣaṁ, all the inhabitants, all his own Ghosh, like all his own inhabitants of Gokul, nimajjantam, he submerges. So nimajjantam, he submerges sva-ghoṣaṁ, all the inhabitants of his abode of Gokul, in ānanda-kuṇḍe. In ānanda-kuṇḍe, in the kund of the pool of Ananda, of bliss. And by this, ākhyāpayantam, he informs tadīyeśita-jñeṣu. He informs those who are geshu, who have realization, they have knowledge of tadīyeśita, of his ishita, of his divinity, of his godhood. So what is the ākhyāpayantam? What is he informing those who are tadīyeśita-jñeṣu? He's informing them that bhaktair means by his devotees, by his bhaktas, jitatvaṁ, he is conquered. Punaḥ, again and again, prematas, with love, tam, unto him, śatāvṛtti, hundreds of times vande, obeisance. So vande, I offer obeisance, śatāvṛtti, hundreds of times, tam, unto him, prematas, with love, punaḥ, again and again. So that's pretty simple. Yeah, I think the meaning is pretty simple, right? Itīdṛk, like this, itīdṛk, because this is coming right after the second verse, which is describing his condition when he's anyways, so like this, sva-līlābhir ānanda-kuṇḍe sva-ghoṣaṁ nimajjantam. So nimajjantam, he submerges sva-ghoṣaṁ, his own people of Gokul, in the kunda, in the pool of Ananda. What is that? That's sva-līlābhir. That's his pastimes, his own lila. By this ākhyāpayantam, he informs those who are tadīyeśita-jñeṣu, those who are knowledgeable, or those who have realization of his, tadīya means his ishita, his godhood, his divinity. He's informing them that bhaktair jitatvaṁ, that he is jitatvaṁ, he is conquered by bhakta, by his devotees, those who have bhakti for him. Okay. Let's read the translation. By his childhood pastimes such as this Dambandhan Lila, he perpetually drowns all the residents of Gokul, his gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and so forth, who are all manifested by his pastime potency in pools of bliss. He thus informs those who have knowledge of his absolute divinity that only the pure and simple love of these devotees can conquer him. Again, hundreds of times, I offer loving obeisance unto Śrī Dāmodara Kṛṣṇa. Okay, so now the Dig-darśinī-ṭikā of Sanātana Gosvāmī Pad. And Hari Bol Jai Shri. Shri Satyavrata Muni begins this verse with itīdṛk sva-līlābhir to establish And also pranams to all devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi, Jayadev Prabhu, Krishna Rose, and Ānanda-Pradayini Haribo. Okay, so Sri Satyavrata Muni begins this verse with itīdṛk sva-līlābhir to establish his worshipful Lord's unique glory. He accomplishes this by illustrating his wonderful character. In this verse, iti is used to mean like this. Thus he begins, like this, by his bhakta vashata. In this way, he reiterates that it is Shri Krishna's nature to come under the control of his devotees. Alternatively, iti means by this Damodar Lila, and idrishibhischa, by his supremely enchanting, extraordinary childhood pastimes like Damodar Lila, he is immersing all the residents of Gokul in great bliss. The addition of swa in the phrase sva-līlābhir conveys the greatness of his own pastimes, or it conveys the uncommon excellence of the playfulness of his pastimes. This has been described in Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10.11.7 in statements such as the following. Gopi stovito nrityar Bhagavan balavat kvachit udgayati kvachin mugdhas tadvasho daruyantravat. The gopis, okay, so this is his own pastimes. What kind of pastimes? Like this in Śrīmad Bhagavatam. The gopis would encourage Krishna to dance in various ways. They would clap their hands or say, if you dance, we will give you a if you dance, we will give you a laddu. Although Krishna is Bhagavan, the supreme omnipotent Godhead, and he's the master of all opulences, that baby Krishna would dance for them like an innocent human child. Sometimes they would tell him to sing, like an ordinary bewildered child, he would sing for them. Enchanted by them, he became like a wooden puppet in their hands. Haribo, Rohini Nandar Prabhu, and Vidyalala Sadidi. Okay, now the next verse in that 11th chapter of the 10th canto. Viparti kvachira gyapta pita konmana padukam bahukshepam chakurute svanam cha pritim samudvahan. Sometimes the gopis would order Shri Krishna to bring them someone's shoes, wooden seats, measuring cups, or the weights used for scales. At such times, he would act as if he was able to lift these articles and would simply stand there touching them. And then he would repeatedly strike his arms to show his mightiness. By such gestures, he would fill his own kin with boundless joy. It was in sole reference to the above statements of Śrīmad Bhagavatam that Sri Satyavrata Muni said Shri Krishna causes sva-ghoṣaṁ, his own kin, the residents of Gokul, to be totally submerged, to be nimajjantam, to be submerged in a nectarian and incredibly deep pool of extraordinary happiness, ānanda-kuṇḍe. That is the indication of this verse from Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Svanam prittim samudvahan. He thoroughly arouses deep love in his own dear kin. Alternatively, the word ghosh means to loudly proclaim the glory of something. Directing the word ghosh either to himself, swasya, or to his own, svanam, the meaning becomes either by broadcasting his own glories, or it can mean by broadcasting the glories of his gopas and gopis. Certainly, by becoming absorbed in the mood of spreading his extraordinary glories, as well as the glories of his own loved ones, even Shri Krishna sinks in ānanda-kuṇḍe, in the ocean, in the pool of bliss, and as a result, he feels the highest limit of happiness. In order to further describe the extraordinary qualities of Shri Bhagavan, Sri Satyavrata Muni then says, by these pastimes, Shri Krishna is making it known ākhyāpayantam. He's making it known to all who are tadīyeśita-jñeṣu, who worship him as the supreme controller and the master of all souls, that he is himself controlled and defeated by the love of his pure devotees. Bhaktair jitatvaṁ. And there's a footnote here for tadīyeśita-jñeṣu. What does it say? The phrase tadīyeśita-jñeṣu refers to those among his worshippers, tadīya, who know, jñeṣu, about his absolute supremacy, his ishita. Haribol Chatamai Mataji. Okay. In other words, Kṛṣṇa is declaring, I willingly become controlled by my bhaktas alone, who are intent on serving me with pure devotion. And I am never controlled by those who are inclined to worship me while considering my supreme position in opulence. Thus, the sage captures the meaning of the following statement from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10. This is the next verse. We just went through the verse 7, 8, and now here's verse 9 in the 11th chapter of the 10th canto. Darshayang stad vidam lokam atmano bhrityavashyatam. Bhagavan Shri Kṛṣṇa showed the community of those who know about his supreme position that he only remains under the full control of his loving servants. Wow, you can really see how this third verse is based on these three verses of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Like really flows perfectly. Okay, so here the word tad about that, or about him, is connected to Shri Kṛṣṇa's position as Bhagavan. And when it is combined with vidam, knowledge of, it becomes knowledge of his position as Bhagavan. Thus, the meaning is clear. He is showing darshayams, those who know about his supreme opulence, that he willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. So see, in this verse 3, it says ākhyāpayantam. And in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it says darshayams. So in this verse, it says he informs them, and then in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it says he shows them. And then it says tadīyeśita-jñeṣu. So he shows who? He shows those who know about his ishita, his divinity. And then in Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it says tad vidam. What does it say? Tad vidam lokam. Anyways, those who know about his position as being Bhagavan. Atmano. And what does he show them? Bhaktair jitatvaṁ. In this verse, in this third verse, it says bhaktair jitatvaṁ. In Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it says bhritya vasyatam. So you see, it's like pretty much saying the same thing, except in different words. Okay, so he is showing those who know about his supreme opulence that he willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. In other words, the original Supreme Lord, Shri Kṛṣna Chandra, is exhibiting that in every respect, he is only controlled by his loving servants in Vraj. And among them, he is especially controlled by those in Unnata Ujjvala Ras, the supremely pure humor of Madhur Ras, transcendental amor. He is not controlled by devotees who worship him on the path of Aishvarya Bhakti, which is characterized by the mood of reverence. Nor is he controlled by jnanis, who know him to be the self-sufficient, supremely powerful Lord. Nor by those whose bhakti is mixed with such jnana. But there is another meaning of tadīyeśita-jñeṣu bhaktair jitatvaṁ. Shri Kṛṣna only reveals ākhyāpayantam. He only reveals that he is willingly controlled, that he is jitatvaṁ, by his loving devotees, only to those who have proper knowledge of such beloved devotees' exalted position. This is because bhakti, and especially its glories, are very confidential. So he does not reveal it to everyone. It is inappropriate to explain it to anyone who is not specifically acquainted with the exalted glories of the Vaishnavas, and who is only interested in impersonal knowledge. From this perspective, The previously cited verse should be interpreted by connecting vidam with bhrityavashyata. Thus, the general meaning of tad-vidam, those who know Sri Krishna's supreme position, becomes bhrityavashyata vidam, those who know that Krishna willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. Okay, so that's clear, right? It could either be in this verse, those who are tad-vidam, who are vidam of what? Who have knowledge of what? Of bhrityavashyata, of how he is controlled by his devotees. So it could either go for who have knowledge of his godhood, or that he's Bhagavan, or who have knowledge of his being controlled by his devotees. And same thing with the third verse, tadīyeśita-jñeṣu. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, Sri Satyavrata Muni prays, overwhelmed with incomparable pure loving devotion for you, premata, I offer you vandana, my prayers of adoration hundreds of times, śatāvṛtti, hundreds of times. To you, tongue, the Supreme Lord, I offer vandana again and again, punaḥ. Guys, people are so loud. Sorry. Okay. Thus, in this verse, the sage wishes to say, among the limbs of bhakti, which are required for all devotees, I only pray to perform one special limb of bhakti, vandana, to constantly express my adoration for Sri Bhagavan. I do not pray for knowledge of Sri Bhagavan's opulence or anything else. Thus ends the English rendition of the Dig-darśinī-ṭikā on the third verse. Okay, and now we begin the Dig-darśinī-vṛtti of our Śrīla Gurudev. Shri Krishna's pastimes are like lakes of inexhaustible bliss, in which he drowns the entire village of Gokul. The village of Gokul is known as Ghosh-palli, which refers to the place where all the animals, birds, cows, gopas, and gopis loudly sing the pastimes of Krishna without cessation. It is constantly resounding with the calls of the gopas and gopis. Milk the cows! Untie the calves! Bring the milk pail! And all is entirely for the pleasure of Gopal Krishna. When Shri Krishna became a little bigger, he discovered that he could go beyond the doorstep leading out of the house. One day, when he and his big brother Balaram went outside, they saw that some bright red flowers had blossomed nearby. However, the flowers were surrounded by a fence of dry bare thorns. Somehow, they moved the thorny branches aside and they went through to pick flowers. Meanwhile, the thorny branches fell back into place, blocking their way out. How will we get out of here? They wondered, and they burst into tears. Mother Yashoda heard their loud sobbing and came out of the house. Finding them trapped, she managed to move the thorny branches to the side and take them out. Sometimes, Krishna would take a sword or a knife in his hands. Must be a little play sword, I'm guessing. Must be. Anyway, sometimes he would hold onto the horns of huge bulls and swing on them. Other times, he had become astonished when he saw himself reflected in the jeweled pillars of his home, and he would even try to speak with that reflection. One day, his mother said, Krishna, go fetch a calf and we will worship him. Krishna found a calf and caught hold of him. But when he tried bringing him to his mother, the calf refused to move. Krishna struggled to bring him along, tugging and pulling all the way. He finally reached the house, but when he noticed a pot of butter hanging from the ceiling, his mouth began to water. He climbed onto the calf's back, and taking hold of the pot, he began to empty it of its contents. Seeing his chance to escape, the calf fled from the spot, leaving Krishna dangling. Maya, Maya, he cried. Mother Yashoda, finding Krishna hanging in the air, took him down and scolded him. Early each morning, the gopis used to crowd Early each morning, the gopis used to crowd into Mother Yashoda's home just to see Shri Krishna. Sometimes some gopis would say, "Krishna is so strong," while others would argue, "No, Balaram is much stronger." How shall we How shall we definitely find out who is stronger? Let the two boys wrestle, and the winner will get a big lump of butter. On these occasions, just by seeing the butter, the two boys' mouths would water, and they would start wrestling. The gopis siding with Krishna would clap their hands if he won, but if he lost, then the gopis on Baladev's side would clap victoriously. Sometimes a gopi would tempt Krishna with a laddu, saying, "Kanaya, if you dance for us, I will give you this laddu." Putting his hand on his waist, he would dance to the rhythm, tattai, tattai, and even sing a sweet little song. In various ways, the Vraj gopis would make Krishna dance. He became just like their puppet, for he came under their full control. At other times, the gopis who came to visit Mother Yashoda would order Krishna, "Krishna, bring us that wooden seat." Their darling little Krishna would try to lift the small seat, but when they saw that he could not, they swelled with sweet affection for him. The same Shri Krishna, in his Varaha incarnation, lifted the entire earth on his tusks. Also, when Krishna was a little older, he easily lifted Govardhan Hill on his little finger, as if it were no more than a toy ball. But in his childhood pastimes, in the same Vrajadham, he could not even lift a small wooden seat. This is the nature of his sweet, human-like pastimes. He controls and maintains everything in creation, yet he is controlled by the residents of Vraj. Although he is the master of unlimited potencies, including his Ghatana Shakti, which makes the impossible possible and the possible impossible, in Vraj, he is unaware of his supreme absolute position. There he is an innocent and simple child, nourished and cared for by his affectionate mother. As befitting an obedient son, he brings his father's shoes, carrying them on his head, and considers, "Father will wear these shoes to attend the assembly of Gopas." What is the meaning of itīdṛk sva-līlābhir ānanda-kuṇḍe sva-ghoṣaṁ nimajjantam? Shri Krishna's sweet childhood pastimes are an ocean of ras. That ocean is inexhaustible and it has no boundary, for it is absolutely unlimited. He drowns all of the gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and the entire settlement of Vraj in the vast ocean of these pastimes. Even he, in fact, drowns in the ocean of the sweetness of his own pastimes. Not is he just submerging sva-ghoṣaṁ, but he himself is becoming nimajjantam. He himself is becoming submerged. Why does Shri Krishna perform these pastimes? Shri Satyavrata Muni answers this question in relation to tadīyeśita-jñeṣu, those who always retain knowledge of Bhagavan's supreme position. A Tattvajnani sees Vrajendranandan Shri Shyam Sundar as the source of all incarnations and the essence and unlimited limit of Godhead. They know him as the possessor of all six opulences in their fullness, and the Supreme Lord who has the power to make the impossible possible. Devotees such as Narad and the four Kumaras have full knowledge of Shri Krishna's true position. Through these pastimes, Shri Krishna is explaining to them, "Although I possess the potency to make the impossible possible, I am nonetheless controlled by the residents of Vraj. I am simply playing here in the mood of an ignorant child." One second, I'm just making sure the internet is still working. The power went out. Looks like it's still working. Okay, good. Right. Yeah. Great. Itīdṛk sva-līlābhir, his uncommon childhood pastimes. His uncommon childhood pastimes, like this Damodar Lila, are supremely charming. One day, a fruit seller from Mathura came to Vraj to sell her fruit. She had heard of the preeminent sweetness of Shri Krishna's pastimes in Gokul, and had become exceedingly eager to see him directly. Although she came to Vraj often, she had never gotten the chance to see Kṛṣṇa. He was either asleep or in the lap of his mother. At other times, he was surrounded by his friends or busy playing inside his home. She tried again and again, but she was always unable to see him. Direct vision of Śrī Kṛṣṇa is easily available to the residents of Vraj, but it is quite rare for the people of Mathura. Still, the heart of the fruit seller became so full of anxiety that she resolved, if I do not see Kṛṣṇa today, I will not return to Mathura. The sadhak's resolve should be exactly the same. He should think, day and night, I will execute the limbs of devotion as instructed by Śrīmad Mahaprabhu and Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī. With love, I will chant a fixed number of Śrī Hari's names and serve Śrī Guru and the Vaishnavas. Every day I will study Śrīmad Bhagavatam and other devotional literatures. Every day I will recite Gopi Gīt, Venu Gīt, Brahmar Gīt, and Yugal Gīt. If I come across a Rasik Vaishnav, I will give my life to serving him. I will visit the places where Sri Radha Krishna performs their confidential pastimes in the groves and forests of Vraj. I will pray very piteously there and recite hymns and prayers that are full of longing. Then Śrī Kṛṣṇa will surely give me his darshan. He is not far away. Having made her vow, the fruit seller came to Nanda Mahārāja's cowherd settlement and wandered about near his house. She began crying out, "Come, take fruits! Follow, take fruits! Come, take mangoes, bananas, and guavas! Follow, follow!" But within moments, she became so absorbed in thinking about Kṛṣṇa that instead of calling the names of the fruits, she cried out, "Come, take Gopal, Govindalo, Madhavlo, Damodarlo." At first, she had been balancing the basket of fruit on her head with one hand, but eventually, she forgot to hold the basket altogether. It kept from falling only due to her natural expertise. Finally, she sat down before the Finally, she sat down before the doorstep of Nanda's house. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa heard the cries of the fruit seller, he could not remain sitting quietly in his mother's lap. So he climbed down and went to a nearby mound of grain. Taking as much grain as he could hold in his joined palms, he started toward the fruit seller, but his hands were so tiny that all the grain fell from them as he walked. When he reached the fruit seller, all he had left were a few grains that were wedged between his palms and fingers. He poured them into her basket and demanded, "Oh, give me some fruit." The fruit seller became completely enchanted by the beautiful form of little Kṛṣṇa and just sat there looking at him for some time. Haribol Ganga Mataji. So she just sat there looking at him for some time. The import of this pastime is that unless someone is intensely eager to see Śrī Kṛṣṇa and is absorbed in remembering him, just as the fruit seller was, he does not give them his darshan. Śrī Kṛṣṇa only gives his darshan to those sadhaks who desire nothing but to see him and serve him. In other words, he only appears before those who have become completely free from anarthas. Hare Krishna Shasharamaji. When the fruit seller returned to external consciousness, she said, "Lala, my darling baby boy, I will only give you fruit if you sit on my lap just once and call me Ma. I will only give you fruit if you sit on my lap just once and call me Ma." Little Kṛṣṇa carefully looked in all directions to make sure no one was watching. When he was sure no one could see, he jumped on her lap, "Ma!" and then he quickly jumped off again. "Give me fruit." All of the deepest desires within the heart of the fruit seller had now been fulfilled. She wanted to give Kṛṣṇa all of her fruit, but she could only give him as much as he could hold in his tiny arms and hands. When Kanaya returned to where Mother Yashoda was sitting in the courtyard, he placed the fruit in her veil. Lala, where did you get these fruits from? She asked. Kṛṣṇa simply pointed toward the door. Mother Yashoda became delighted to see such succulent and tasty fruits. She began to distribute them to all the gopis present. But amazingly, even though there were only a few fruits, the quantity did not diminish. When Kṛṣṇa left the fruit cellar near the doorstep of his house, she completely lost external awareness. Śrī Kṛṣṇa had stolen her heart, and she simply sat in the very same spot until a gopi passing by shook her and brought her back to external consciousness. She slowly picked up her basket of fruit, placed it upon her head, and then set off for Mathura. As the fruit seller walked along the bank of the Yamuna River, she realized that her basket had become much heavier than before. When she set it down and looked inside, she was struck with wonder. Her basket was filled with a variety of valuable jewels. She picked up the basket, threw it into the Yamuna, and burst into tears. Śrī Kṛṣṇa has cheated me, she cried. I have been completely deprived of his real mercy. Overwhelmed by love for Śrī Kṛṣṇa, she lamented bitterly and never returned to her home. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa steals anyone's heart, invariably this becomes their condition. Evam vrata sva-priyanama kritya. Evam vrata sva-priyanama kirtya. Jatanurago drutachitta uchai. Hasatyatoro ditiroti gaya tunmadavan nrityati lokabhaya. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:2-40. Saintly people who have firmly devoted themselves to serving Bhagavan with deep love constantly engage in kirtan of their most beloved names of Kṛṣṇa. When deep attachment, when anurag arises in them, their hearts thoroughly melt and they become mad in love of God. They laugh and cry loudly. Agitated by love, they sing about their Lord in sweet voices. And just like madmen, without any trace of shyness, they dance and sing, unaffected by the opinions of ordinary people. The evil demoness Putana, who would murder small children and drink their blood, beautifully disguised herself as a mother. She disguised herself as a mother and entered Vraj, intending to kill baby Kṛṣṇa. Despite her wicked deceit, merely on the basis of her motherly appearance, Śrī Kṛṣṇa granted her a position as a real nursemaid in Goloka. And in exchange for a morsel of worthless chipped rice, just see what he gave Sudama Vipra. As a footnote here, in exchange for just a few pieces of broken chipped rice, Śrī Kṛṣṇa awarded Sudama Vipra unimaginable opulence. See Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:81. Oops. So he gave this position as a nursemaid to somebody who came to kill Kṛṣṇa. So then what? And he gave unimaginable opulence to Sudama Vipra. So what will he not give this fruit seller, who is ready to give him all her fruit? Even four-headed Sri Brahma, the creator of the universe, cannot imagine the answer to this question. Lord Brahma says, Esham ghosha-nivasinam utabhavan yim devarate tinash cheto vishvafalat phalam tvadaparam kutrapyayan muhyati sarveshariva putanapi sakula tvameva deva pita yadhamartha suhrit priyatamata yadhamartha suhrit priyatmatanaya pranashayastvatkrite. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:14-35. Brahma says, O Master, who is most worshipful even for the demigods, now my mind is becoming bewildered by a doubt. How will we be able to reward the residents of Vraj for their service? You are the condensed form of the highest benediction. There is no reward superior to obtaining you. But even if you give your very self to the Vrajvasis, you will not be freed from your debt to them, because you have even given yourself to Putana. She was extremely cruel at heart, yet by deceitfully appearing before you in the form of a virtuous nursemaid, she has obtained you. Even her relatives like Aghasura and Bakasura have now obtained you. How will you give the same reward to the Vrajvasis who have given you everything? They have offered you their homes, wealth, and relatives. They have even offered their own bodies, children, life, and mind, everything at your lotus feet. Every day, Shri Krishna would perform beautiful, sweet pastimes like these and immerse the residents of Vraj in an ocean of bliss. There are those who know him as the supreme personality of Godhead and the controller of all others. They know him as the possessor of all potencies, as the causeless original cause of all other causes, as a supreme being who has no equal, not to speak of a superior, and as he who makes the impossible possible. Yet by these pastimes, he is showing such knowledgeable personalities that he can only be controlled by bhakti. What kind of bhakti can control him? The four Kumaras, Dhruva Mahārāja, Prahlād Mahārāja, Shri Narad, Shri Uddhav, and the Yadavas, as well as many others, they all have some form of bhakti, but their bhakti can never control him. Aishwarya Shatila Preme Nahi Mora Prita. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 3:16. It means, I am not pleased by love that is weakened by awe and reverence. Aishwarya Shatila Preme Nahi Mora Prita. Devotees who have reverential love for Krishna stand before him and with folded hands offer him prayers. But if someone loves him with a mood similar to one of the Vrajvasis like Subal, Sridham, Madhumangal, Madhu Yashoda, Nanda Baba, or above all, one of the Vrajagopis, then Shri Krishna will come under his control. Among these Vrajvasis, the Vrajagopis are supreme, and among them, Srimati Radhika is topmost. If someone's devotion to Shri Krishna is like the devotion of Srimati Radhika's, Srimati Radhika's maidservants, then he can control Shri Krishna completely. The following verse celebrates these facts. Ananga mangala prasanga bhangura bhruvam savibramam sasambramam triganta panapadanai nirantaram vashikrita pratitinandane padakarishasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajana. It's the third verse of the Shri Radha Kripa Kataksha Stavaraj. The meaning is, O Sarveshwari, O mistress of all controllers, Radhika, on the stage of amorous sport, in the course of an auspicious discussion, you express amazement by curving your eyebrows like bows, and then suddenly firing the arrows of your sidelong glances, piercing the son of Sri Nanda with amorous delusion and bringing him under your perpetual control. When will you make me the recipient of your merciful sidelong glance? Even Shri Sita, the wife of Bhagavan Shri Ram, could not control Shri Ram by her love. Shri Ram gave her up and sent her to the forest to live in exile. Could Shri Krishna ever banish Srimati Radhika from his house in Nandagaon? Srimati Radhika does not even live in his house with him. He becomes so nervous in her presence that he could never ask her to leave his house. What to speak of banishing her from it forever? The reason he becomes so nervous around her is because he is always impassioned with love for her. When she instructs him in the various arts, such as dancing, he fears that he may make some mistake. There's a little Hindi kirtan. I don't know how to sing it. I'm just going to make up something. Priya ko nachavata shikavati pyari mana kumana Lakutili Atari Darapata Kunja Bihari Darapata Kunja Bihari. While instructing her beloved in the art of dancing, Śrī Radhika watches him with a cane in hand, ready to chastise him. Her cane is her sulky, contrary mood, which causes Śrī Kunja Bihari to fear making any mistake. When Śrī Radhika spontaneously becomes inflamed with man, with jealous anger, either with or without any cause, Śrī Krishna prays, Smara Garala Khandanam Mama Shirasi Mandanam Dehi Padapallabam Udaram. At Śrī Gita Govinda 10:8. O my beloved, Cupid's powerful poison is devastating. Please be merciful to me and place upon my head the cooling, tender petals of your lotus feet. What to speak of bowing at the lotus feet of Sarveshwari Śrī Radha? Śrī Krishna falls at the feet of Śrī Rupa Manjari and Śrī Rati Manjari, her maidservants. When, on their Swamini's order, they forbid him to enter Śrī Radha's kunj. He begs them for permission to enter, pleads with them, and flatters them just to pacify them. Just see the position of Śrī Radha's maidservants. Our worshipful Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, Padabjayostava vina varadasyameva Nanyat kadapi samaye kila deviyache Sakhyayate mama namostu namostu nityam Dasyayate mama rasostu rasostu satyam. It's the 16th verse of Vilapa Pushpanjali. O Goddess, you are capable of bestowing all benedictions, but I do not want anything other than service to your lotus feet. I offer my obeisances forever to Sakya, to the mood of friendship. But the essence of my life, the real essence of my life, is Dasya, the mood of service. Shri Prabodhananda Saraswati's eternal identity in Shri Krishna's pastimes is Tunga Vidyasaki, one of Shri Radha's 8 principal Sakis. But he is also praying to attain the position of being Shri Radha's maidservant. Yat kinkarishu bahusha kaluka kuvani nityam parasya purushasya shikhanda mole tasya kadarasani dervishabhanu jayas tatkeli kunja bhavanangana marjanisyam. It's the 8th verse of Shri Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi. O daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj, ocean of Ras, that beautiful boy who wears a gracefully tilting peacock feather in his hair is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, he is always falling at the feet of your maidservants and pitifully begging them with many humble words to gain entrance into your kunj, where the two of you engage in your playful, loving pastimes. My life would be successful if I could even be one stick in the broom of your maidservants. So sorry, if I could be even one stick in the broom your maidservants use to clean your delightful kunj. Okay, I'm just going to read these next 3 sentences and then we'll finish. Shri Krishna rises when the gopis order him to rise, and he sits when they order him to sit. Chachiya bhara chacha para hari ko nachave. It's by Rasa Khan. He says, just see the glories of these ladies of Raj. They make Shri Hari dance for a mere palmful of buttermilk. No other kind of bhakti has the potency to control Shri Krishna in this way. Okay, so I think we should end here. Yeah, we'll end here and we'll finish the rest of this 3rd chapter tomorrow. We're almost at the end, but I think it'll probably take us like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 7 minutes to finish the rest of the chapter. But I'm already 5 minutes over time, so I don't want to. Sorry for starting late today. We would have finished if I started on time. All right. What's happening tomorrow? I'm just looking at the calendar. Will we continue reading Dāmodarāṣṭakam tomorrow? Yeah. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, Rama Ekadashi. So we'll continue our reading. We'll finish up this 3rd verse and then begin verse 4. Varam Deva Moksha. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय, श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय, जय श्री गुरुदेव की जय, जय श्री परम गुरुदेव की जय, जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री रूपानु गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय, सपाशा श्री गौर नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय, श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीगण की जय, श्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय, श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय, जय श्री श्री यशोदा दामोदर की जय, श्री राधा दामोदर की जय, श्री दामोदराष्टक की जय, जय श्री दामोदर व्रत की जय, ऊर्ज व्रत की जय, ऊर्जेश्वरी रसेश्वरी श्री विश्वानंदिनी श्रीमती राधा ठाकुरानी की जय, श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्रीताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Dandava pranams, dear devotees, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Chattamai Mataji, Champak Mataji, all devotees on YouTube and Facebook, like Shubhananda Prabhu, Pramila Didi, Krishna Mai Didi, Jai Shri Didi, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Vidyalasa Didi, Ganga Mataji, Shash Sharmaji, and all other devotees watching, like in the future, like, oh, and also Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, and all the devotees watching in the future, like Chachi Devi, Jai Devi Prabhu, Krishna Rose, and Ananda Pradayani Haribo. Thank you so much for joining, and look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow to begin verse 4. Varam Deva Moksham Namokshavadimba. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today? Oh, and Rupa Raghunath Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.